Hello, hello. We're starting a workshop right now. I'm letting some people into the conversation and we're going to start. We're going to dive right in. Welcome to those of you that are here live. My English and my Spanish are kind of exchanging forces today. Sometimes I'm more in the Spanish, sometimes I'm more in the English, but I want to dive right in and just start talking to you about this topic of, designing a life you love, which seems a little bit abstract, but I come from a design background. I know, Branquita, you are a designer as well. And I truly believe that if you can design a meal, a structure for your house, a plan of action on how to get the kids to school. That's all designing things. People tend to believe that design is only create. Hold on, let me see how I say that. Design is being creative. Designing something is being creativity and organization and a process to get from an idea to something that is actually real. Real meaning realized, right? It could be a purse, it could be a poster, it could be a book, it could be your life. It could be, how am I going to take the kids to school today and get everything that I need to get done? How am I going to cook a healthy meal and get the ingredients? So I wanted to start with that, just to say that we are designing every day in our day-to-day. We're just unaware of it. So when people feel like, oh, I need to be creative to design something, I would say the first ingredient in design is getting organized. What's the plan? What's the brief? What are we designing here? What is it that we're going to get into? And then how can I map that out in a process that is objective, that allows me to get to where I'm going? So today we're going to talk a little bit about that, but first we got to get really, really woo-woo, right? Because this is all about energy centers, energy leaks, healing, which is a big word. But I invite you to just go with the flow, have a beginner's mind, even if there are things that you've heard here before. Hopefully the way that I'm helping you get organized and objective with it will allow you to create a little plan of action. There tends to be a little bit of a conflict when we're talking about the energetics of the body, the spirituality, and things that are less tangible in science. And I like to say that I stand in the intersection of science, spirituality, and common sense. They all have to come together. If you're just leaning on science and forgetting about the other two, you're kind of missing 2/3 of the equation, literally, and the same goes for all of them. So why are we here? Hopefully we are here because you've identified that some of what I've shared resonates with you. How we spend our money, our time, our energy has a lot of parallels. How we choose to invest, spend, or waste in each of these areas typically has similar patterns, but we are always maybe complaining or in some kind of dilemma, but we don't know what to do, not understanding that all of these conundrums are coming from the same energetic center of our body, which is our sacral energy space. So let's talk about energy centers first a little bit. The body, the physical body, I consider the physical body a sacred container. Again, I'm throwing out the word sacred. Sacred means something that you hold with reverence and with respect, right? Something that you actually honor and are aware of. We tend to go about our life very unaware of our physical body, or either we feel the body's running the show and we want to tell it what to do, or we feel out of control. But what if we took the approach that your body is this container that holds you, right? And it's supposed to take you through this experience called life. There's this analogy I love to use. Imagine in the Roman times now, because Gladiator 2 is trending again, the Gladiator stuff is trending again, the Roman Empire. But imagine for a moment one of those, chariots that you have the driver of the chariot, you have the actual carriage, and then you have the horses. The carriage itself, that's the body holding the person driving. who is our mind. Our mind tends to tell us what, you know, we use the mind to get organized. And if we see the horses as our emotions, there has to be a flow there. If you were to add an extra component, you would say that the essence of the driver, hopefully, is encouraging the driver to make decisions to get the horses. What happens in our day-to-day is the horses are out of control. We don't even know where we're going. The emotions are driving the situation, or we are too methodical or not methodical at all, and we get confused or know how to take a turn. And the body is simply kind of holding all of this stuff. So what if we try to understand how all of these components work, but also bringing the body into the equation? We tend to try and tell our body what to do. I want to eat this way, so my body responds this way. And when the body doesn't do it, we get frustrated, we get angry, we give up on certain things. So emotions, everything starts with emotions. Why? The body gives us sensations. Sensations lead to emotions, which are energy and motion. And by energy in this case, I mean hormones. It's a hormonal response. And these emotions, which are hormonal responses, lead to thought. How am I going to fix this? What's broken? Woe is me, all that stuff. You can identify something that is a leak in your life or that is taking power out of you. We're going to talk about power in a little bit, because you're always talking about it. So I'm going to be throwing a few questions for you to contemplate on your own. And I hope that you take this conversation that we're having today and stay with it for the next few days, for the next week, and see what comes up. So write down everything that you need. If you don't have pen and paper, go get it, because we're going to be writing and doing a little bit of drawing as well, or not really drawing, but we're going to be laying out some stuff. So the first question is, can you identify something that you're always talking about? Talking meaning complaining. What is that you're talking about to your girlfriend? What is that you're talking about to your partner? What is it that you're talking about to your co-workers? What's that thing that's in the loop? It could be 1, 2, or 3 things, but they typically have the same connection. So that's an easy way to identify something that is energy leak, something that is taking energy and power from you. What happens when we don't reconcile with what's going on is that this energy, these constant energy surges that we get, that we call emotions, again, energy, emotion, hormonal responses, when we don't understand to objectify them, to observe them with common sense and apply the tools that we need to first validate, okay, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, I see it. Awareness, right? Number 1. Do I want to do something with it? Do I want to keep it the same, or do I want something to change? Willingness comes into the equation. And then the third energy would be action. This is what I need to do to change this conversation. But first we need to see it. First we need to understand what it is, then decide if we want to do something with it, and then actually put it into action. It's a three-point energy equation. Sometimes we are aware of what's going on. Oh, I see, this is the thing. Okay, moving on. And then we make excuses. Oh, this is why I behave like this. This is why I always do the same thing. This is why I repeat this pattern. It's because I am the way that I am. And we've grown really smart about identifying things, but then we don't do anything with them. We kind of just stay enmeshed. We stay them. We don't become them, we stay them. So willingness, if we can at least move into the willingness, which I feel is where you are today, just by being in this workshop, just by watching, if you're watching the replay, I know there's something and I do want to change it. That's a beautiful place to go. But what happens is sometimes we don't know what to do with it. And then we stay there, and I want to change it, and I know that I want to do it, but I don't know what to do. And this is when we seek help. Either we read books, or we ask somebody for support, or we find a teacher. God bless coaches, teachers, mentors. We need other people sometimes to help us where to go. But let's stay today in the identification, and I do want to give you a tool that you can use yourself in shifting some of these emotions and patterns that you want to maybe shift. Also, feel free to ask me questions as we go. You don't have to wait until the end. So at any point I say something and you want to expand on it, for those of you watching live, let me know. Okay, so each energy center of the body holds some of these patterns because some of these energies come from there. So if we were to go through the chakras, I don't even like to use that word anymore, but that's what they've been called for a very long time in some lineages. I like to call them energy centers. Why? Because each of these centers in the body has its own way of operating. It has its own brain, essentially. And in some areas of science, they have identified that we don't just have a brain in our head. We have a brain in our heart. We have a brain in our gut. We have a brain in our reproductive organs. We have a brain on our skin. What does this mean? They can function on their own and be perfectly fine. They have a group of nerves that keeps them going, their own circulatory systems, and they actually communicate with each other. So if we were to see these energy centers, not only as energetic hubs where there's a lot of activity in the body, but they correspond to different organs, you're actually even able to see how when there's a recurring ailment or discomfort in the body, it has to do with an energy center that will tell you what is happening externally that is affecting that. So let's go through them very quickly. At the base of the spine and down the legs, we have the root, right? This is our safety. Do I belong here? Do I have a home? Do I have a space where I feel like I can be myself? And the energetic leak or the wounding, the ick that can happen there has to do with fear. If we don't feel safe, if we don't feel at home, that could be within our bodies, that could be within a space, that could be within a situation. Fear manifests. Fear is a big one, and it tends to run many people's lives. We're all under a lot of fear all the time. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, and sometimes it feels kind of like a low buzz, and sometimes it feels like it's really taking over, right? Then from there, we move up to our sacral space, and this is kind of where the reproductive organs are. This is considered the center of creativity, how we connect to other people. This is where money, sex, food, how we ingest, how we process things is. And the leak or wounding that tends to happen here has to do with guilt. We feel guilty, we feel, and shame, which shame also moves into the third energy center. So we have fear, we have guilt and shame, and then we move up to our solar plexus space, which is around the navel space. And this is where the liver, the spleen, the kidneys in the back are. The stomach starts to come into this space, and this is our center of power. This is where our willingness and our willpower, how am I living my life? Am I living my life feeling empowered, how I want to live it? Or am I living a life where I feel small and I don't have control, quote unquote, over it? So these three are the lower triangle of the energy bodies. These are the more human ones. These are the ones that connect us to the earth. These are the ones that keep us ideally grounded, right? From there, we move up. We have the heart, which is the center of the connection between the lower triangle and the upper triangle. And the heart is love and friendships and romance and life. Am I feeling living a life where I feel loved and where I'm able to give love? If you don't feel like you're able to give love, chances are you feel you're not deserving of receiving love. And the wounding that happens here tends to be grief. Grief is the heart, the lungs, the chest, all of the space. Also, for the solar plexus, anxiety, right? Who here on a day-to-day basis can connect to feeling fear, guilt, shame, or anxiety? right? A little bit of one, more of another one, a mix of all, right? Grief, some of us carry grief, but it's less present unless something has happened that you're like, okay, I'm feeling grief. But the three lower ones, we're in a cycle of fear, guilt, shame, anxiety. Fear, guilt, shame, anxiety. And then I'm just going to breeze through the top three because we're going to focus on the lower three. And this is where I'm going to go on the workshop that we're starting in January, the breakthrough. We're really going to clear some dust. We're going to understand what's going on there. And we're going to put some steps into place to really heal these energetic leaks. Because what happens is they end up running the show. And then the upper triangle, which is where we actually grow, there's not enough energy in our body to manage that. So we have the throat, which is our center of manifestation. Am I speaking and requesting and setting boundaries from my voice? Am I using my voice? Right? The energetic leak or the wounding that manifests here is jealousy and lying or staying quiet. Even sometimes staying quiet means that we're lying to ourselves. We're not claiming what we need. Then we go into our third eye, our center of vision, where we create a vision for our life and we're able to see where we want to go, have not a purpose, but what is the contribution that I want to give to the world, and how do I envision my life? And when this center is out of balance, we get confused. There's a lot of confusion, there's frustration also. And then we go up into the crown, which is the opening to the 8th energy center, which will be your energetic field. And this is our connection to our higher self, which is actually inside of you. But imagine you're opening up to the rest of everything, right? We are part of everything. And when there is a wounding or leak at this space, we tend to become attached to seeking too much of the woo-woo, too much of the spiritual. So the base is we get attached to more material things, more physical things. And by the time we get to this point, we're kind of like, oh, I don't care about being human. I just want to pray and all that stuff. Imbalances is the word that I wanted to use. All right. So I just went over them so that to give you an idea of where we play each day, with the understanding that this lower triangle, you cannot expect to ascend and transcend if these lower three are like, you cannot not be human unless you go live in a cave and meditate 24 hours a day away from the world because the world triggers you. But that doesn't mean you're healed. You just took yourself away from everything that triggers you. The ideal will be that you can live in the regular world and function and understand how you are functioning. Okay. So when we focus on these lower energy centers, we are able to send more energy equally into the rest of the body. These are the stories that run your life. And this is where they stay in these hubs. So what I want to do today, another question I want to ask you before we go on into having the fun exercise that I want to leave you with is knowing that the foundation is your home, safety, or fear. The sacral space is your creativity, money, sex, food. And this is guilt and shame. And your solar plexus is your center of will and willingness, your power. I want you to just write a note for yourself. What does an empowered life, living an empowered life, feel like to me? Or what does power feel like to me? And I actually want you to take a couple of moments to write that down and close your eyes, take a deep breath and see what comes up. For me, interestingly, when I used to think about the word power, when I thought about it with my head, with my brain, it felt like control and a man and people. And when I actually tapped into it, for me, power feels like freedom. Power feels like I can do whatever I want. Power feels like peace of mind. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, and I just share that because I don't want you to think about what does power mean to me. because that's a story that we've created or a narrative that we've inherited. I want you to close your eyes and tap in, what does power mean to be? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that before we move on to the next step. And if anybody would like to share, I would love to know, because I love connecting some dots. So now we've covered 2 key questions, and these are questions that help you, again, identify what's going on when you feel confused and you're feeling overwhelmed. What am I talking about all the time? What am I complaining about? And see if you can categorize it. Now that we know the energy centers, am I complaining about money? Am I complaining about home? Am I complaining about my relationship? Am I complaining about work? Right now we're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And then what would make me feel more empowered in that space, right? So I'm going to read. Thank you so much for sharing. So Alexa saying, to me, being empowered is peace, happiness, and feeling like I am on my life's path and following my purpose. Beautiful. Not just drifting through life, but embracing life. I love that, because typically power feels, if you think about it, like gripping and controlling, and you use some beautiful words like flowing, following, not drifting, but embracing. Embracing feels so much more beautiful than gripping, right? I love changing words. We've been given some words, especially as women, that are always so harsh, and you need discipline. What if I need structure, right? You need control. What if I need embracing, right? You need, everything is so harsh, but there are some beautiful, like one that I've recently in doing this. By the way, I do this exercise, things like this on a daily basis. We're doing it now, like when this workshop live right now, it's December 18th. We're doing it near the holiday. We love doing like a New Year's workshop and then ready for the new year. I want you to get in the habit of doing these kind of things all the time. Even if the beginning you're like, I'm going to do this once a month or once a week. I want it to become so easy to you to just in the moment be like, what am I complaining about? And where is that in my body? And what sensation is that giving me? All right, let me get to work. Right? Not wait until it weakens you and it completely disempowers you. So thank you for sharing that, Alexa. Ramiata saying, the first thing I wrote down before you mentioned it, Paula, I love when you say my name, was feeling in control, trying to tap into something deeper. Beautiful, right? Because when I said it, it went to your brain. It went to the driver. Oh, we're going here, control. Oh, we're going to, but what if there is, the higher self is in you? The quickest way to tap into your higher self is not, no, it's closing your eyes and taking a few deep breaths and asking the question internally and seeing what comes up for you. So I want you to give that a try. If it's not happening now because you're in a place where you need to keep your eyes open and you need to be alert, but whenever you get a chance, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and allow, rather than think, allow for answers to surface. So thank you for sharing that. Elisa, to me, it's alignment, grounded exploration, loving and honoring myself, play, but in a structured, intentional way. So not like a crazy shopping spree, but an intentional pursuit of joy and pleasure. To me, being powerful is being my biggest fan and wanting to share myself with others from a perspective of self-love. I love that. How beautiful was that, right? It's empowerment means coming from deep within us, something that we're doing with purpose, something that is intentional. right? That doesn't mean controlling. A lot of women that I work with come to me in the beginning feeling that I'm out of control and I want to have control in my life. I want to control how I eat. I want to control what my body is doing. And what if we soften it and use these words? I want to have intention. I want to have purpose. I want to have structure, right? And for those of you here that have worked with me, you know that we're always trying to just change the language and change the perspective. So thank you so much for sharing that. So now that you have an idea of what feeling power or empowered to you in a specific area of in your life in general, but let's say we apply these to specific areas of your life, we're going to do a little exercise. I like to use the word envisioning rather than manifesting. I tend to use manifesting as clickbait. I'm going to be honest about that because people understand what it is. Manifest this. That's why design is a beautiful word to me. The manifestation takes design. Manifestation is not like, please, universe, I'm going to stop doing this if you give me that. You're negotiating with yourself, honey. The universe is always going to try and give you whatever you need. But this back and forth negotiation, this like, I'm going to make a vision board and then forget about it. It takes design. It takes intention, right? So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to give you a little foundation to map that out, right? Okay, I know my intention is that in this area of my life that I keep complaining about, and we're going to go over it now, I want to feel more empowered in that space. So the three questions you're going to ask yourself as we get through the exercise are going to be, what do I want in this area of my life? The second question is going to be, and we're going to go by the areas. I'm going to help you map it out, but I'm giving you the brief. I'm giving you, Branquita, what's the word that we use? Like, what do you use in graphic design? I know that in fashion we used to say, what's the direction? What's the direction for the season? You know, like what's my merch plan? What do I have to design into? Now what I use as my template is, who am I working with? What do you need? You're my brief, right? When you come to me and you tell me I'm feeling X, Y, or Z, then we design what you're going to do. So what do I want in this area of my life? If there's one thing I need to get done to shift things, one thing that I need, remember, see that I'm saying want and need differently, but I want you to start with want. You are the only one who owns your wants. Nobody can give you wants. Nobody can take your wants. You want what you want. And we tend to put our wants last. Well, I don't need that right now. And we tend to put ourselves last, right? I was just sharing on Instagram. I remember the first thing I would cut a budget, time, or energy spending on would be me. Oh, I need to cut out going to the therapist, or, oh, I can't spend any more money in this workout that I love. Oh, this teacher that I've been working with, I need to take a pause. But I would go buy shoes, and I would go buy a glass of wine, or I would go and Netflix and chill, or whatever we're saying now. What's more wasteful, right? So what do you want first? What do you need? And the third question would be, what do I need clarity on? Because we don't have to do it all ourselves. Great if you can, but you don't have to. And especially for women, we've been given this, like, you're a great multitasker, you can do it all. She's a working mother, and she's a wife and a sister, and she also has to wake up at 6 and meditate and work out and blah, 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 right? So what do I need clarity on? What do I need support on? These are going to be the three questions I want you to contemplate as you move forward with this exercise. So since we discussed that each of these energy centers connects to an area of your life, we're going to stay with those three for today. You could map this out for everywhere. So for your home, creativity, relationship, money, sex, work, love, what do you call, requesting, boundaries, manifestation, envisioning, purpose, life map, etc. But we're going to stay on these three because this is what I'm going to be going into the new year with. So for those of you during the breakthrough, you're in for a treat because we're hitting the ground running. We started on January 6th. and all of this. This is essentially the first workshop of that workshop, the first session. So you're getting a sneak peek into what we're going to be doing. First, we have to identify what it is that we're working with, and then we're going to get to work. So I want you to write, if you have 3 pieces of paper, you can do 3 pieces of paper, or you can just give yourself enough space to write. So number 1, corresponding to energy center number 1, home. That, what does that mean? Home life, home environment, home location, safety, security, peace in my home. That would be area number 1. Area number 2, which corresponds to your second energy center, would be money, sex, food, self. Right? This is kind of where I dance mostly day to day with my clients, with my students. This is where we are. This is where the pillars, which I'm going to talk about, come into, the pillars of wholeness. And then number 3, corresponding to the third energy center, work, career, development, growth. Right? So I want you to spend a few moments, and in each of these energy centers corresponding, see which one is screaming at you the most. Think about that thing that you keep complaining about. Which energy center does it correspond to? And in that one, ask yourself, what do I want? What do I need? What do I need clarity on? So for example, if it would be, you know, I'm not feeling great, I want to take better care of myself. I keep complaining that my clothes don't fit, I'm tired all the time. That has to do with the self. That's the second energy center. So I already identified what am I complaining about the most. That gives me clues as what needs to shift, right? Now I identified which energy center corresponds to second energy center, sacral space. And then I'm going to ask myself, what do I want in that space in my life? For me, I would say, I just want more energy. I want to feel freer and more, have more peace of mind and trusting that what I'm eating and how I'm moving and how I'm breathing is supporting me. I'm just kind of compiling general ideas from things that I hear from people, right? Then I would ask, okay, what do I need? A typical one is, well, I need to get my food organized. If I could only know what to eat, if I could only start there, right? And then what do I need clarity on? What do I need support with? That I need somebody to just tell me what to do. So this is one example. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that. And then if you can share, please share. And then we go from there. You know that I am a responder. So I love seeing what's coming up for you and then giving you some ideas from there. Again, if you feel like you're getting stuck in any of these steps of this exercise, you close your eyes, you take a deep breath, and you allow the answers to come up. You don't try to think about it. You allow your body to speak to you. The body is constantly speaking to us. We're just not speaking the same language. And sometimes learning how to take care of yourself feels like learning a new language. So the way I like to teach it is, first we learn the alphabet. Then we learn how to put words together. Then we go into sentences, and then all of a sudden you're singing in Italian, right? In the beginning, everything is intellectual. When we're learning, it feels like, oh my God, how am I ever gonna get this? And then all of a sudden you just don't need to think about it anymore. And that's the goal, that these things become so fluent and fluid within you that it doesn't feel like I have to sit down and map my life with a pen and pencil. That's great. I actually still do that. But it's faster. It's more, what was some of the words that you guys said? More, it just feels more fluid. It feels peaceful, right? One of my teachers likes to say, how can we do less and achieve more? By doing less doesn't mean like everything is gonna manifest magically. No, less effort. it feels less effortful. It feels effortless. Effortless doesn't mean you're lazy and don't want to do anything. Effortless is like, why the heck does it have to be more difficult than it actually is? And sometimes just because we don't know how to make it easier yet. But the more we practice and the more awareness, willingness, and action, if we're constantly in that loop, things happen. And sometimes it happens like this, and sometimes it takes more time. And unfortunately, we've been conditioned to believe that things have to happen quickly. Everything we are sold is fast and cheap. We want fast and cheap. I want to have it fast, and I don't want to pay for it, and I just want it to happen. And like, what if I wanted to last? What if I really want to learn? What if I know that I'm going to give myself the gift of time and explore this rather than expect things to change overnight and I don't know how it happened? Anything that happens by accident never lasts. In business, in love, in our physicality. When you do a diet and you lose 10 pounds, oh my God, I don't even know how that happened. Exactly. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to come back, and then you're not going to know how to do it again. And then we get frustrated. So I'm in the game of, I want to understand how it works. I want to learn how to shift it, and I want to know how to maintain it, right? And it all starts with what we're doing today, identifying what is happening. What is it that's happening? You know, famous people love quoting Carl Jung, and he was the one that quoted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And by unconscious, he meant these stories that run our life, the things we're complaining about all the time, the things that frustrate us, the thing that make us feel fear, shame, guilt, anxiety. That's running your life. And the only person that can actually do something about that is you. Not alone, with tools, with people, with support, but you are the only one that can go from awareness to willingness to action. All right, so if anybody would like to share, I would love to play around with your shares. What did you discover? What did you find out? And let's play. Because I'm going to give you then the last piece of the puzzle to do this with yourself. So we've explored essentially the awareness component, right? What is going on? What am I complaining about? What is the thing? Oh, I see what energy center is. I can identify it. Now we're in the willingness. What do I want? What do I need? What do I need clarity on? So now then we have to go into the action, because these two are not enough. It's a triangle missing a point, right? So the next step would be, how am I going to get that done? So I'm going to give you the task of writing down 1, 2, or 3 action steps that you can apply to a want, a need, or the clarity portion. If this is what I want, what's 1, 2, or 3 action steps that I can do here? If this is what I need, action steps. If this is what I need clarity on, action steps. So thank you, Ramiata. Fear of choices I've made. Need self-confidence, want intentionality and trust in my intuition. Clarity, how to feel empowered in my decisions. This is beautiful. So need self-confidence. So you see, you started with need. We do that. So for you, I'm going to give you homework. I want you to, every day, I want you to ask yourself in the morning, what do I want today? Literally, what do I want today? I typically say, ask yourself the 3 questions. For you, I want you to every day, at least for a week, ask yourself, what do I want today? What do I want to do? How do I want to feel? we tend to do that. We tend to put needs, not only our needs, everybody else's needs first, and then our needs, and then our wants. So I love that you shared it like this. Okay, I'm going to read it in that order. Want, intentionality and trust in my intuition. That's beautiful. That's empowering, right? When we feel attuned to our and trust with our intuition, that's your inner self. That is the higher self, the intuition. Need, self-confidence, beautiful. And self-confidence comes through trusting your intuition. So see how your want can take you to your need. If you're able to cultivate trust in your intuition because you know how to take care of yourself, you will feel confident because you will feel empowered and grounded in yourself. And clarity, how to feel empowered in your decisions. Sometimes you need a sounding board, right? Hey, person that knows a little bit more about this than me, can you help me find clarity in my decisions, right? So for you, the next step is 1, 2, or 3 action steps in each of those. So write them down. Okay, next, I want a life where I am building, creating things that excite me and that I own. Beautiful. My desires lie in power, growth, willingness. But this year I've done that in a way that neglects, hold on, I can't read. But this year I've done that in a way that neglects the more base needs. And now I feel bogged down in trying to resolve home and get back to taking care of myself because they fell off the rails. So I need to be more intentional about doing less and making time to build my creative pursuits. Beautiful. You're seeing, you're noticing that there's an imbalance in it becomes a power struggle, right? Because that's something else we've been conditioned to do. Is like you either work hard or you play hard, or they like if you have to earn your pay, right? You got to do it and they forget about everything else. How can everything come together? How can our purpose and our creativity come together? Our wants and needs, how can they become one? So this is beautiful, and this is a great place to be when there's this, the thing about the new year is it has this energy of new beginnings. But your birthday could be a new year. Summer could be a new year. Like anything that gives you shift, it's a good opportunity to do that. But what if every day felt like it's a new opportunity, right? What do I want today? What do I need? What do I need clarity on? So this is so beautiful, Elisa. Same concept. Take your time and write 3 action steps for each one, right? If I want a life where I'm building, creating things that excite me and that I own, even if it's envisioning steps, even if it's ideas, even if it's concepts, but it's taking action towards where the universe gives you, again, going back to manifestation, you have to be in alignment. Everything is happening already. We are the ones that have to align ourselves to where we want to go. So even if it's, you know what, I don't know what that thing is, but I'm going to be thinking about it every day, and I'm going to do this exercise until I figure it out, that's an action step. So action step is not necessarily like tomorrow I'm going to go. No, it could be like, okay, I'm going to commit to continuing this exploration. So thank you so much for sharing that. Having struggles with the clarity and support, maybe support on getting the more base energy centers aligned, come to the breakthrough so I can focus more on my creativity. Absolutely, right? This goes back to what we're talking about in the beginning. If this lower triangle energy centers are taking all your energy because you're always thinking about money, sex, power, anxiety, fear, guilt, shame, there's no energy. We are one battery. And this takes all of your energy. So this is what we're going to be exploring during the breakthrough. If you join the membership now, you get a head start because you can start doing some of the workshops that we have there. And on January 6th, you are in there. I know that you are in there. But for those of you who are not and are watching the replay as well, January 6th, the breakthrough is my new offering. This is something I do for myself every year. I save a chunk of time. I actually start doing it around my birthday. So I go October, November, December into January, and I do a series of things. One of them is I like to pick a chunk of 40 days. Why 40 days? In some lineages, they believe that when you do something for 40 days, it's fixed. Some people say 21 days. Some people say 3 months. For energetic things, 40 days is the magic number. I don't know who came up with it, but I believe it, and it's thousands of years old. So it works. Every time I do a 40-day ritual, the thing happens, right? We're showing up, right? It's a form of discipline that is not rigid. I'm showing up for myself. I'm going to do this thing every day. What are we going to do? I'm going to give you journaling prompts. We're going to keep building on this exercise, identifying what do I need, what I want, what do I need clarity on. And for 40 days, every day, you're going to have a different assignment. And we're going to meditate together, 20 minutes a day. If you can't make the call, replay will be up immediately after. The meditation is what's energetically going to be shifting and clearing space. We're going to do a beautiful meditation to remove imaginary blocks from the body. There's going to be a nutrition component, that foods that support these energy centers as well. And by the end of the 40 days, you're going to feel like a super, I'm going to say superwoman, because it's mostly women that I play with. If you're a man, Superman, but you're going to feel like you can take on the world. And this is the time of year when we want to do this. At the beginning of the year, you're setting your energy for the rest of the year. And it's going to be beautiful. I'm even going to add a movement, a somatic movement component that you can do on your own, optional, like 5-minute things. But we're digging through. And when I say digging through, some people get intimidated. It's fun. For those of you that work with me or have worked with me, we're not into suffering over here. Even when we find the thing that hurts us the most, we're going to do it with love and compassion and observation and in curiosity, right? Healing doesn't have to feel sad. You may experience grief because you're finding things out, and also you're telling parts of you that have been running the show for so long, you're okay, you're safe with me. We don't want to erase it. We're not going to cut him away. But we need to have all the parts of us feel safe with the version of you that's here, that knows that you want to shift something within you. We need to calm everybody down, right? And that's when everybody chills down. I'm going to read something. I'm going to recommend 2 books, and then I do want to read Alexa's. Anatomy of the Spirit is a fantastic book. Caroline Myss. If you want to get into this energy centers and awesome. I bought this book when I was like 30, made no sense to me. When I picked it up when I was like 48, I was like, why didn't I read it 10 years ago? I turned the page and she said, when you're in your 40s, this will make more sense, literally. I want to read something from the book. Another book, Eastern Body, Western Mind by Anoria Judith. These are 2 Bibles. If you see them, they're so earmarked and highlighted. But if you really want to get into the energy, we're going to be exploring these books as well. So if you're doing the workshop, I recommend at least get this one. This is fantastic if you don't already have it. And today, as I was like, oh, I'm going to reference a book, I opened it, literally fell onto this page. The 3rd principle, you alone can help yourself heal. Energy medicine is a holistic philosophy that teaches I am responsible for the creation of my health. I therefore participate at home level in the creation of this illness. I can participate in healing of this illness by healing myself, which means simultaneously healing my emotional, physiological, physical, and spiritual being, psychological. I can't read today. Okay, so I wanted to jump to this part here. Healing is an active and internal process that includes investigating one's attitudes, memories, and beliefs with the desire to release all negative patterns that prevent one's full emotional and spiritual recovery. This internal review inevitably leads one to review one's external circumstances in an effort to recreate one's life in a way that serves activation of will, the will to see and accept truths about one's life and how one has used one's energies, and the will to begin to use energy for the creation of love, self-esteem, and health. I mean, come on. I literally opened the freaking book on that page, right? This is what we're doing in January. So I'm going to leave you with this. I do want to read Alexa's. I gave you, this is the beginning of what we're doing for 40 days. So even if you do this, you already have a roadmap. What is it? What does it correspond? What do I want, need, and need clarity on? Action steps, right? But if you come in January, we're really gonna get in there and just like get it all to the surface. Okay, the two things that take my energy are 1, anxiety, and 2, feeling out of alignment with career. I have a health-based anxiety that I never have connected to the dissatisfaction that I have in my career because I don't have career-related anxiety. Isn't that interesting? It's like, oh, this is not it, but it is, right? However, now I am seeing that anxiety is a leak from my career energy center, solar plexus, mind blown. I love that. I work in marketing, but my dream is to open up my own yoga studio. Yay! I am currently in yoga teacher training. Oh my God, we can totally talk about that. I'm like obsessed. It's I'm not gonna go there because we can talk for another hour. But isn't that fantastic? Sometimes we're like, oh, but why am I anxious about this? And it's not that. And it's like when you go through the steps, you're like, oh my God, it is. But you got to sit with yourself and you give yourself that space. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, I think we're good. So some of you that are here, some of you that are watching are already in for January. If you are not, I highly encourage you, as an invitation, you can buy the workshop and do it on its own, but it's part of the membership and you just get a better deal because it's way cheaper. And then you get access to all my other workshops. We can work together for a year. I do it quarterly because I don't believe 1 month gives you enough time to do anything. So if you give yourself at least 3 months, but regardless, if you have questions, email me, paula@paulaatlason.live. I'm very easy to find. You can find me on Instagram too. I'm sure you guys found me through either my newsletter or Instagram, but I love a question. So if you have questions, now we have 6 minutes left. Ask me questions here. If you want to reach out, if something comes up later, please ask me questions. I have so many, if I would answer every question on my webpage, you wouldn't read it. We don't read stuff. And if it would be like, if I would answer my top 100 most asked questions, nobody's going to read. You're going to be like, that's too much to read. So if you have questions about anything that I do, anything that I can help you with, not attached to even you working with me, I love to answer a question. Actually, later today, somebody asked me a bunch of questions on Instagram, but all right. So any questions before we go? I feel like you guys, if you do have a question, go like this so that I wait, because otherwise I'm going to let you go. I don't think I have any more. Okay. Eliza. They might say was it Elisa or Eliza? I'm always confused about, you know what? I'm gonna unmute you. Can you unmute there?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's Elisa if you want to go that way, but yeah.
Elisa, I remember there was a thing that was it's like Eliza. Okay, Elisa.
Yeah. So yeah, I think what's sticking out at me is kind of what I said in my note is like, I feel like I've been wanting the creativity, the like work, that one for such a long time that this year I sort of like went after it, but then I totally screwed up or neglected the other sort of parts. Like I was just like, let's go nuts, let's go for it. And now I'm like, I feel like I just like kind of hit some wall. So I guess like what's hard for me is like, I want to focus on the creativity one, right? Like I want to focus on some of these higher things. And I want to make sure I'm not distracting myself, for example, with like the nutrition and the body and these things, because it's sort of like, or am I just, is it a way of avoiding what I actually want is just to like go work on my body, my health, my home. So I guess that's kind of my current like point of confusion. Like, which one should I be focusing on? Which one should I care about? Or should I just let it be like, well, right now I just need to focus on my body and my home because they're getting in the way of what I want.
I love that. And thank you so much for asking that, because one is not mutually exclusive from the other. In an ideal world, you'd be toggling through all of them daily, and some take more priority and some fall to the bottom. So an example I like to use, I forget the name of this writer all the time because it's Nora, but it's not Ephron, it's another Nora. And she's a very prolific writer, touring the world, successful, and mother, wife, all the things. And somebody asked her, how do you handle it all? And she famously said, I see all of these areas of my life as balls that I'm juggling constantly. And some are made of glass and others are made of rubber. And she's like, I just don't drop the glass once. A rubber ball can drop and bounce back up and I catch it. But so you know, one of the things I like to identify is what are your glass balls, right? Your body is a glass ball. Your home is a glass ball, right? If these are crashing to the ground, having to put the pieces together is not that easy. But creativity for you is also a glass ball. So it's how do we keep them moving? How do we keep them all with attention? But some days, some take more priority than others. That takes organization. And organization is something that we often take for granted because it's placed in the space of discipline, willpower. You just got to show up in this way. If you're feeling resistance, if you're feeling contraction around doing something, you're never going to willpower or motivate. If you're counting on motivation, willpower, or discipline, and that's not in you, it's just not going to happen. So I like to go and build a foundation. How do we learn how to support the body and all this physical, emotional, and mental so that that doesn't become the focus? It may be the focus in the beginning, but how do we put that to the side then after it becomes like, I don't have to think about what I'm eating. I feel great. And then we can open up. So again, we take care of the lower triangle, which is the me, and then we can open even more. But that doesn't mean put your creativity to the back burner, if that makes sense. I know that you are in the membership, so go do foundations if you haven't already. That's a really good place to start and understand how to get organized and prioritize. And then the other one would be the ideal plate, the workshop, if you need a reminder on food. I have so much good stuff in there. There's so much. But if you need help, ask me. Hey, Paula, this is how I'm feeling. So this is my plan for you, Elisa. Either do foundations or the ideal plate workshop now over the holidays. They don't take a lot of extra effort, and get yourself organized, because the goal would be that we know what we're eating, we know how we're moving, we know how we're breathing, and then the energy can flow into other spaces. But thank you all for being here. Alexa, it was great seeing you. And I hope to see you in January. The membership is ridiculous. This is a baby that I've given birth to. I'm still like, what am I really doing this? Because it's like all of my work is there, everything for you, accessible all the time. But the breakthrough is going to be particularly sweet, and I'm super excited about that. All right. So if any questions come up for you after this, you know how to find me, ask me questions, and I'm here for you. And I hope to see you very soon again. All right. Bye.